Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons by people who love The Simpsons, about how much we hate The Simpsons. We're here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack.
And we're also your source for empty nest news in 2015. I don't know if you saw, but I tweeted out this past weekend, I was watching old episodes of The Twilight Zone from the 80s Twilight Zone, and there was an episode with Richard Mulligan in it that was written by George R.R. Martin, and it's actually really, really good. So.
That's funny, because Richard Mulligan, the star of Empty Nest, was originally the inspiration for The Mountain.
Yeah, that's a lot of people don't know that.
No, little trivia there for you.
Hey everybody, so thanks for checking us out. This is the worst episode ever. And today we've got a good episode for you. No, we don't. We have a bad episode for you.
Well, the podcast is good. The Simpsons
The podcast is good. Yeah,
I mean, we haven't seen it. We're just assuming.
Presumably is bad. We've heard bad things. And it is called Moe Letter Blues from season 21. Jack, have you seen this one?
No, I've seen Moe Baby Blues, a different episode.
Right.
And I thought this was... This doesn't have a St. Patrick's Day parade, right?
As far as I know, no. And then there was also Moe Better Booze, which was the name of his movie in the Springfield Film Festival.
I mean, when you do 600 episodes, some are going to start to sound the same.
They're getting a lot of mileage out of Moe Better. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. This episode first aired May 2010. I've never seen it. I really don't know anything about it. If you would like to watch it, you can do so on Simpsons World if you subscribe to FX or... I don't know, maybe it's on TV. Maybe it's coincidentally just on TV as you're listening to this right now.
That'd be crazy.
Check it out. So we're going to do that, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. We've got a guest for you, but we'll introduce him when we come back. And we're going to do that right now.
See you soon, guys.
Dear friends, I have some news that is doubly sad. First off, I am leaving town forever. And my going away present? One of your wives is running off with me. One of our wives is leaving us for Moe? Moe's leaving town?
All right, so that was Moe Letter Blues.
Sure was. It was something.
Yeah, I guess before we get into talking about it, why don't we introduce, we have a guest.
Let's do it. I'm not so much a guest. I'm one of the hosts of the show. My name is Dan.
Oh.
But we do actually have another guest.
Oh, okay.
I'm the guest.
Yes. We have Dave, our good friend Dave. Dave Dormon is here.
Well, hello.
Is that right? Dorman or Doorman?
Dorman.
It's not like the profession doorman. Okay, good. Dave Dorman is here. Dave is a big help at Berry Park Trivia, where we do our Brooklyn Trivia Night.
Yeah, I've been helping you guys run that since the inception. Used to work
since
at the
before
bar.
Me even.
Since before you were the host. That's right. How long was that now? 3 years?
That was,
Over
something
3
like
years.
that.
So yeah, I worked at the bar and I run the some of the technical aspects of the trivia.
Yeah,
it's a wild hero of trivia.
It's a wild multimedia.
I have co-hosted. We co-hosted it once.
We did, yeah.
When the other Dan was out of town, and I hosted it all by myself before.
That's right, I remember that.
Somewhat
horribly.
Yeah.
We were in the audience for that one.
Consensus was.
And that's why we invited you onto our podcast.
Yes, bring it down a notch.
You were asking the questions and you were forgetting to do the inflection at the end of the sentence, so we didn't know it was a question. You were just like,
just all sound like statements.
What was Bart's favorite show?
You even not even
I can't. Yeah. It's really hard to try
to not reflect
ask
the question. Yeah. I pride myself on that at trivia. What was Bart's favorite show?
Oh, now that's a question.
That's a trivia host.
That's something you want to answer.
Yeah. It's Krusty the Clown.
So, Dave,
yeah,
you're a big Simpsons fan. What would you consider the classic years of The Simpsons?
I go solidly like 3 to 8. Yeah, maybe even 3 to 7. There's some great ones in 8.
Yeah,
definitely.
And then season 9, I think, is where you start to get glimmers of the coming downfall.
Yeah.
The Principal and the Paupers in 9, right? So
Principal
there's just
Pauper,
some missteps where you can.
Right.
So yeah, 3 to 8. I
What's
think
your
is
favorite
solid.
season?
Favorite season, I'd have to go 5.
Yeah,
Great choice.
Yeah.
it's a very good choice.
Anything from 3 to 6. Solid picks.
Yeah.
Even 7. Anything from...
Even 8. Even 2.
Even 8. Even 2. Even 1. Season 1's my new favorite.
If somebody likes 1, I'm not going to give them shit.
Yeah, that's fine. It works. Yeah. So, Dave, you suggested this episode for us. And you wanted to explain a little bit why.
Well, we'll get into the finer points of it,
We will.
the main reason was, unlike you guys, I never stopped watching The Simpsons. I've been watching it since...
Okay.
I haven't been as faithfully watching it as I did during the peak seasons.
Yep.
Because you genuinely enjoy it, or just a sense of curiosity where the show's
I guess
going?
You're just really bored on
I mean,
minutes.
I've never flat out hated it enough to walk away, or had one of those episodes that disgusted me so much that I had to quit. But
No, I agree.
still think
Yeah.
it's better than most things on TV, and of course, growing up with it, you have that sentimentality with it.
There's a loyalty to the
the
show.
nostalgic connection. But there's just been a handful of episodes through the years that stick out as, for one reason or another, particularly bad.
Yep.
And this was one of them for me that I didn't watch for a long time. The Bonfire of the Manatees was another one that I recommended to you guys.
Oh, we
and
loved that episode.
I heard. But
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
You can blame Dave.
But you kind of forget after you watch a bad episode, and then after a couple months you forget why you didn't like it, and so it's interesting to go back and kind of be able to articulate some more reasons why it was so bad.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting episode to revisit, and didn't disappoint me in that I really still didn't like it.
So the first time you saw this one, you really didn't like it.
Yeah, I get enough that it like bookmarked
Yeah,
itself
right,
in my
exactly.
mind. It's like, wow, that was bad. Let's not do that again.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
So let's talk about it. Let's real quick while
get
we
in.
recap it.
Let's do it.
So it starts off with Moe narrating.
Which was...
Yeah, well, we'll get into
yeah.
it.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's do the recap.
Yeah, so Mo, it starts off with Mo narrating. He basically tells a story about three husbands who didn't appreciate their three wives, and it's Pooh, Reverend Lovejoy, and Homer. And they all go on a Krusty Cruise to a really shitty
Weasel
amusement park
Island.
to Weasel Island. And that's where Mo sends them a letter saying he's going to steal one of their wives. And now they're all figuring out which wife it's going to be, who's been the shittier husband. They each remember one specific anecdote where Mo happened to be there, and there was a weak point between their marriage. They did something bad to their wives.
Yeah.
And then in the end, it turns out that Mo was actually just trying to reunite all three of them and scare them back into being good husbands. It was pretty much it. There wasn't really a B plot.
Yeah, it was pretty much... It was just like the flashbacks kind of took up the B-plot spot.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just get into the nitty gritty details.
The nitty-nitty.
The nitty.
Getting into it.
As we go along. Do you want to start at the beginning or start at the couch gag?
Let's
or?
start with the voiceover.
Well, I want to talk about the couch gag
okay,
first,
okay.
because I think you guys didn't like it so much. The couch gag was, there were like model pieces, and you see hands hastily put them together and paint them, and it's the Simpson family on the couch, and then a firecracker comes in and it explodes, and it was Nelson who did it.
And I think he ha-has.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I liked
just
it.
took way
It just
too
took
long.
It
way
did take a
too
long
long.
time.
Way too long.
He probably didn't need the like assembling of the family. It
I mean,
could
I
have just been
remember-
a model
Or just
of them.
just animate it really fast. The joke was that it was drawn out and then it blew up, which is funny, but it didn't have to be that.
So drawn
like I
out.
remember, I was like, man, this is going on too long, and that was maybe halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I could rehash my problems that I have with the opening. I did notice we had a listener mention to us that Marge is texting while driving when she hits Homer with the car.
Yeah, I never noticed that before.
Which, I never noticed. It's very, very quick, but it is there. So keep an eye out for that.
And it's a good catch. It's also, I guess that's why she's running into Homer. Not that they needed to justify it's a theme song, but it's a pretty awful thing to do. It might as well
Yeah.
show somebody drunk driving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not on that level culturally. People still
Yeah.
kind of text and drive, but it really is a
Well,
shitty thing to do.
Did you guys see that the Werner Herzog short film about texting and driving?
I didn't.
It
sounds
was
amazing.
extremely dark. Yeah, it's for free on YouTube. I forget. I think it's called From 1 Second to the Next, and it's just about like these people whose lives were destroyed because they were texting while
Wow.
driving and they killed people. Or it's dark. For
That sounds dark. It sounds awesome.
For this hilarious
completely
podcast.
unrelated, but I just watched a comedy Bang Bang episode where Paul F. Tompkins plays Werner Herzog,
yeah.
and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I love PFT's
Yeah.
impersonations.
PFT, his impression of WH is A-OK.
It is very good. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the episode proper. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about the voiceover a little
So
bit.
yeah, one thing I wanted to say about that was initially when I heard it, it took me a second to like realize that it was Moe.
It
It
didn't sound like him, no.
real. It didn't sound Moe enough for me.
Well, Moe was kind of out of character in this episode because,
Yeah.
ultimately it's Moe doing a good thing for three people, and Moe
Which is not
never
something
does
Moe would
anything
do.
good for anyone.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
arguably Homer's his best friend, and he very
Right.
rarely does nice things for Homer.
so we were talking before we started recording. This entire conceit of the episode is based on a 1940s film
Yes.
that was nominated, won.
It was nominated for Best Picture in
So
1949.
I'm assuming there was narration in that as well.
Probably.
I don't know if the narrator and the character in the movie was a bartender, but I thought
Right.
it was actually a really good idea that the bartender would be the one that picks up
Yeah.
on everybody's
Right.
troubles.
That makes sense.
That made sense.
That's a great idea. Again, Moe specifically,
Moe the bartender,
maybe not so much, but it didn't bother me because the bartender makes sense.
It didn't bother me after I found out that it was an homage, I guess, to this movie. Although we still don't actually know if the movie was a bartender at the center of it.
It actually was Moe Sislak.
Okay. Then it makes
he
so much
traveled
sense.
through time and starred in the movie.
Yeah, the movie is called A Letter to Three Wives, by the way. If you wanna Netflix it, I don't know if it's on Netflix, but we've never seen it.
Yeah.
Presumably, it has less boob jokes than this episode, because Moe in the voiceover says, "I moved to Springfield because the zip code spells boobs."
Yeah,
on the calculator.
I bet you people looked that up immediately to see if that was a real
It's
zip
not
code.
a real zip code.
It's not. Okay.
Did you look it up?
I didn't look it up, but I came across that somewhere.
As soon as this episode finished airing, you were like, "What's 5808? 58008?
8005
Yeah.
S? No, I don't know.
8005 S
Not great with math.
or boobs?"
Yeah.
So that was weird, and I thought it was strange. So it goes throughout town. Moe is setting up Springfield, USA.
Yep.
There's another dark joke between Skinner's mom.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a running theme.
This
In
has
Large
gotten-
Marge 2 weeks ago, she said, "This dinner is as cold as my love for
My
you."
love for you.
But then in this one, she says, "I wish you had died instead of the car," because he's pushing the car. She literally just said, "I wish you
wish
had
you were
died."
dead.
I mean,
There's not a lot of effort put into.
No.
Every line should just be her saying, "I hate you."
That's a real shame.
that would be awesome. If from now on she says nothing but "I hate you," just get it.
I hate you so much.
That's a real shame too, because I always thought that the Skinner and his mother dynamic was such a great, it was always
It's a little
this,
more
psycho
complex.
thing. It was a
Yeah.
very complex thing, and now it's just, "I hate you."
Yeah, I mean, there's always been some comparisons between Norman Bates and his mother.
Right.
Now imagine if that Bates Motel show, which is literally all about their relationship, if it was just her going, "I hate you, I hate you," like the entire show.
I've never seen it. Maybe it is that.
I doubt it.
Let us know, listeners.
So then they get to the bar, and I forget what his line is, something about, but everybody comes to Moe's, and Moe's is packed.
Yeah.
Which is unusual in itself. Moe's
Yeah.
is not packed.
Moe's is not usually that packed.
Generally,
It's
it has
a-
the same 5 barflies.
Right.
Yeah.
In
Homer,
fact,
Barney, and
there have been
Carl.
several episodes where Moe's becomes suddenly popular.
Yeah.
Like Flaming
Yeah.
Moe's, and
Yeah.
the one where it's
Right.
like the postmodern bar.
Yeah.
I guess that's somewhat
I mean,
forgivable then. It's
His boxing office is the ladies' room because there's
Right,
never any
'cause there
ladies
aren't any
there,
ladies
but there's
there.
clearly a lot of ladies there. I mean, it worked for this episode. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. One thing that I thought was weird, but probably not weird, is just because I haven't seen the show in the 10 seasons between this episode where I stopped watching. So when they cut to Moe's, they're having a Barney riding contest, I think it was. And Homer's riding Barney like a bull.
Barfly Rodeo.
But yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, do you remember like 10 years, well, probably like 8 years before this episode aired, they had this very thoughtful episode where Barney got sober.
Yeah,
And now
yeah.
instead, Homer's riding him like an animal around
Yeah.
a bar.
Completely demeaning.
I
was
mean,
just like, well, that didn't last
they went
long.
back on it, and we'll talk about, I'm sure, the Barney
we'll
plot
probably
line at
watch
some
all
point.
of those,
But as great as it was to see Barney sober up, I like I like drunk Barney better. I like him when he gets tranquilized because they think he's a bear, or
Oh,
when he
that's
makes
great,
when he
yeah.
makes a black and white short film. I like that Barney better than I did sober Barney. So whatever.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just that was the first thing I thought. I was like, but they tried to make Barney a real character, and I guess it failed horribly.
Besides that, did you find the rodeo funny?
I liked Lenny as the rodeo clown.
Yeah, I thought that was
pretty
that was
clever.
funny. Yeah.
I didn't love
And
it.
that Barney
but-
stayed in character like as the bull.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, he
It
didn't-
was it's a fun, interesting thing to do that they haven't done, so I appreciated it.
yeah.
I was, it wasn't
Yeah. Points for
slapping my
originality.
knees, but
Right.
I was, but for a completely different reason.
You had a mosquito on your knee, and it was painful.
Nervous tick.
And then what? It goes back into voiceover of Moe saying how he knows everybody's problems because he's the bartender.
Yeah, and it did this. It was actually a pretty cool kind of like Moe's narrating, and he was like an omniscient narrator, and it was moving throughout the town, and it was like kind of
Yeah.
3D, like
Yeah.
Futurama kind of style animation. I thought, oh, that was nice. That's something we haven't seen before. Like,
Yeah, and let's talk about this. Something I want to mention. His narration was there was a lot of meta narration jokes. Where he at one point he spies on Marge while she's undressing.
yeah,
He's
I
like
wanted
this.
to talk about that
This
for sure.
omniscient, this omniscient narrating. He's got some perks. Before I mean, we'll talk about that as Moe as a character, but what I'm more interested in is just the idea of doing meta narration jokes. This is a thing that's is very prevalent in pop culture, not just The Simpsons, where you have a voiceover and they comment on the fact that it's a voiceover. It's kind of become its own little subgenre.
Right.
And it's a very, very thin line, at least to me personally, where if you do it, it's just kind of lame. It's just kind of like, hey, look, I'm making narration jokes, and I almost never like it. But if you do it just right, it's kind of great. Like the first thing that comes to mind is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh yeah,
Robert Downey Jr. narrates the movie, and he talks about himself narrating the whole time, and he's like, wait, actually, should I be narrating this? Should I stop? And it's like really over the top, like precocious almost.
Right.
And because Shane Black's a great writer and Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, it works. Yep. And I kept waffling back and forth on this one, whether I thought it was funny, Moe was pulling it off, Hank Azaria was pulling it off as Moe, or if it was just like, shut up. Yeah.
I mean, specifically with the Marge thing, I did not like that because it was creepy, and also like, is the story actually in the world of the show? Is the story actually happening, and Moe can really see into the window, or is Moe like fantasizing this, or what's like the reality?
I feel like that's one of the characteristics of the narration, the meta narration jokes, is that it kind of breaks. It's breaking the fourth wall.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there was a reference when it went on Moe while he was narrating. They said, "Hey, get the camera off me." So that's sort of
right.
Yeah.
They don't reference being filmed on their show,
right?
Yeah,
so that sort of takes you out of it a little bit.
Yeah,
and it definitely takes you out because it is such a blatant break of the fourth wall. And then that's again, most movies don't make it work, but some do. Even though you're doing that and you are being taken out of the film, they're taking you out of the film purposefully, and it's actually adding something to it. And I guess my question for you guys is, was that adding something to it? It sounds like no.
I don't really think it
Not
did.
for me.
I mean, it was. I mean, how else do you tell this episode without Moe narrating? I guess it could make sense to have like the three husbands in the bar, and Moe is just like, "Oh, it sounds like you got lady problems" or something like that.
Right. I'm sure there's
do it a different way.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do it. I'm guessing the original film was narrated, and that was just part of it, came with the homage.
Right. It would be great if now we watch the original film and it's completely different. It has nothing to do with this episode.
Well, I think we should, worst episode ever, and we should just stop doing Simpsons episodes and start doing 1940s Best Picture nominees.
I think we should. Worst nominee ever.
We get a lot of iTunes reviews and comments saying, guys, The Simpsons kind of passe. We want to see Gentleman's Agreement.
That's right.
You guys talk an hour and a half about it and make some pickle jokes.
What do you guys think about how I saved my valley? What the hell's that movie?
How Green Is My Valley?
How Green Is My Valley?
How I Saved My Valley is that NBC sitcom where Bob Saget goes back in time and tells his kids how he saved the valley.
How I Met Your Valley.
I would love to see that.
No, so let's talk about the Krusty Cruise. I thought that was a great idea. It's something they've never done before, and you think, the Krusty merchandise through line that the show's had since season 1 is great. Like the Krusty merchandise, and it's such a great commentary on merchandise, which is funny because early on The Simpsons became this beast.
Yep,
I would say even before, I say the Simpsons phenomenon probably came after they started commenting on it with the first Sideshow Bob episode. Yeah. So it's funny that they predated it, but once The Simpsons became its own thing, then they started referencing it even more and had a better point of view about it. So they've always been really good with it. And then these theme cruises seem to be popping up everywhere. First you had the Disney cruise, and now you see like
Sugar cruises.
Yeah, Sugar Ray was trying to do a cruise, but nobody signed up or something. Limp Bizkit did a cruise, and the guy from Limp Bizkit, like the bassist or somebody, was like, "I don't want to be on a boat for 3 months with you guys."
With Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. So the idea of Krusty doing a cruise is great. And I'm glad that, it's funny that they can come up with an original idea this far into the show with Krusty. So I really appreciated the idea.
I did. I liked it too, and it was a day cruise, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
To this island called Weasel Island, which Krusty said was one of the 10 roundest islands in America.
That's
which
a great,
funny. And it was just an island with this derelict amusement park, and there's
Civil War prisons.
Yeah, Civil War prisons and a weasel cave.
Oh, Weasel Cave.
And then they mentioned the amusement park, and the voiceover of the commercial is like, "Warning, may not be amused."
Yeah.
That was a good.
So
that was a good guy.
I like that. I like the Weasel Island stuff. but I was disappointed that we never actually got to see a Krusty Cruise. It could have been any day cruise. There was nothing crusty.
Going back to the
there was
boat,
nothing crusty about it, right.
the boat didn't even say crusty or have anything crusty on it. In fact, it was some old rundown boat that I guess he bought called the Island Queen. Right. That had like some letters missing.
Right.
That was weird, and I thought it was a weird beat too when the ship arrived in the dock. There was the joke about the captain needed the
stick that Homer loses in the ocean,
water, and then the boat exploded.
Yeah.
But it was like an epic It was like, oh, I guess everyone's dead, or I was waiting for it to cut.
right.
Have one of those moments where it was
glad
like,
we got off the boat before that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be one of those moments. And then the next shot, like, only part of the boat's damaged, and he makes a comment about how most of their cargo is explosives.
Yeah, they had, like, ash on there. It was like when a Warner Brothers cartoon, the cigar explodes in their face or something. It was
I thought it was a pretty epic explosion.
Yeah, it was jarring. I thought the same thing.
I thought there'd be more fallout from that.
We lost half of the children, but we made it to Weasel Island.
Yeah, so I was just bummed that you could have done so much with a Krusty Cruise, and you had the Krusty side characters you could have brought in, with, like teenies driving the boat. So they
could have just stayed on the boat, and it could have been Krusty on the boat.
So that was my point. The closest thing to a B plot is in between the anecdotes. They keep cutting back to the shitty rides, and especially this one shitty ride.
Right.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But it didn't have to be that. It could have been Krusty stuff, and then at least it would have seemed a little bit more relevant to the Simpsons. And I like them sitting at the picnic table on this Weasel Island, but it would have been more visually interesting if the entire discussion these three guys have is on a boat on the open seas.
Right.
It just seemed like a missed opportunity. I was curious why they.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't need the island. It could have been a cruise around the harbor or something. Yeah.
And I guess before we'll talk about the anecdotes all at once for coherency's sake, why don't we just talk about that one shitty ride? Because it was interesting.
On Weasel Island?
Yeah, on Weasel Island. It was called Ride. It just said Ride. It was run by like a meth head carny or a crazy carny.
Let's talk about the carny specifically. So it was not any carny we'd seen before on the show, because we've seen like Cooter and Scud.
We've seen our fair share of carnies.
But it's been a lot of carnies.
On the show and in Bay Ridge.
Springfield is a town of carnies, and there's carnies in and out of Wii Studios all the time. But this particular carny was like muttering to himself like these crazy things. Like he was like, I'm the one who makes the soup, and I don't like the soup. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was funny, but I don't know if you guys did.
Did you like it, Dave?
Well, I thought they went back to it. Well, they only went back to it once, so they showed it twice.
Right.
And the first time you're just kind of like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And the second time it was like, oh, okay, this is who this guy is, and it was kind of funny.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
The first time it just didn't.
The first time was weird, but when they did it again, I was like, oh, okay, this is this guy's thing. He's clearly crazy.
Right. I didn't know what to think of it the first time, and the second time gave it a little bit more cohesion, but I still I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't quite land for me.
Right, exactly.
Well, I mean, I guess they're just saying carnies are weird, which is not the biggest piece of social commentary the show's ever done.
I mean,
biting.
What they devote 60 seconds, 90 seconds to that, and then there's another bad joke where not bad joke, but Lisa. The joke is that the ride is terrible, and these kids keep like getting flung off, or new kids arrive on the ride somehow.
Right, there was a teacup suddenly on the ride, and he's like, "That's not supposed to be there."
I didn't care for any of them. There's a weird act break. The act 2 ends with Lisa's like jammed, like stuck in the rocking
like a
horse.
carousel horse.
Then she asks Homer, like the joke is, she goes, "Dad, can you help me out of this?" And then Dave mentioned that she just walks away.
Immediately, she just turns around and walks away.
It was literally
Homer has done nothing.
Yeah, it was
maybe sometime later.
Yeah, right. It was just for the line. She said the line and then literally walked out of frame.
I'll see myself out. And then act break.
Yeah, exactly. But she might as well just said, "Dad, the act is ending now. Here's my line. See you later."
Now that's meta humor.
So it's weird. Now that's an act break. Yeah. So it was weird, and again, so whatever that was, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, that could have been devoted to Krusty Cruise jokes.
Yeah.
So I'm just lamenting what wasn't.
Yeah. Basically, we want an episode about the Krusty Cruise.
A Krusty Cruise B plot can never be.
Let's talk a little bit about the kind of the meat of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Homer and Apu and Reverend Lovejoy, and the first thing I thought was, that's a weird trio to have.
Sure is.
And as I was watching the episode and thinking about it, Those are, I think, the only 3 married men in Springfield
Well,
that we know well.
Let's see. You have Kirk, but they made jokes about how that's already a shitty marriage.
Right. I was like, oh, why isn't it Flanders instead of Lovejoy? And I had completely forgotten the terrible episode where his wife dies.
Yeah, and then the other episode where his wife dies.
Yeah. Wait, there were 2 episodes.
Comic book guy's not married yet.
Right?
It didn't have until season 25.
Oh, I didn't even know he's not married.
I didn't know he was married. He's a comic book man now. I'm trying to. I don't want to just spend 5 minutes on live air thinking.
Are married to each other,
but we don't know their. We don't. Lenny, they've made references to their wives. At least Lenny has, but we never see him.
But it's
you're right.
It's
that's
weird
it.
that the most prominent. Okay, so obviously Homer and Marge, Apu and Manjula. Okay, I'm fine with that.
And they've done some stories about their relationship.
Exactly.
So that kind of works.
And then the best one you can come up.
Chief and Sarah.
Chief
You know why I thought of that? Because now I'm thinking of the Valentine's Day with Apu and Manjula. I think the only characters in that are the only married men.
Dr. Hibbert. Also.
Dr. Hibbert, his wife.
His wife's
Helen has a little bit more character as the town gossip.
But then
this was the most she's ever gotten, I think. But
there was really not a lot of stuff with her as a character, because she's the town gossip. Think of the children. That's her entire character in two sentences.
Right.
And there was none of that in this episode.
Right.
So
I would have liked to have seen a little bit more
choice.
Helen Lovejoy. Like the fact we were talking about with the Chalmers, the fact that the show's going on this long, they do have the opportunity to flesh out characters that for 25 years have been tertiary characters, and we kind of welcome it if they do it right.
It should have been Homer, Apu, and Disco Stew.
Well, that's another thing I was talking about. So it's based on this movie, so I get why it's 3 wives. And 3 wives is a nice number, and it makes a lot of sense for the story to have these 3 separate anecdotes. It really, 3 just seems like a right number. But because this is a 20-minute long episode, I didn't think any of the anecdotes got enough meat on them, meat on the story bone.
Yeah.
So it really hurt the episode as a whole because you really can't get invested because you only have this real quick 1 minute, 2 minute scene. Yeah. So maybe it would have been better if they dropped it down to just 2 of them and the 2 guys are wondering which wife is going to take. I do believe 3 is stronger, but with 20 minutes, maybe it would have been better off just picking 2 of them, maybe just Apu and Homer, and then they're both debating whether, which one they're going to lose their wife. And then that way we both get a little bit more time with each of them and see what's going on.
That would be bad. And also, we've seen that Homer and Apu are friends.
Yeah.
Like, they hang out and it's not strange. But seeing Homer and Lovejoy hang out, I was like, that has never happened ever. Homer doesn't even like going to church.
Oh, and I just thought of this. The reason they're on the cruise is for their kids. And Lovejoy barely has a daughter. He just said we never see her, and then we did just see her.
I think they show her for one
You see her for a nanosecond getting off the bus later. Yeah, she says nothing because Meryl Streep was not available.
Right.
And then in the next scene, she's gone.
Yeah,
so that was
I guess the only reason they even brought her back after 20 years is because they needed a reason for Lovejoy to be on the cruise.
Yep.
So that's a stretch. I think it would have been better with just... I agree. I think 3 wives makes sense. 3 stories make sense. But for 20 minutes, maybe 2 would have been better.
Yeah, you're right. You only really got that, like a one scene thing with each couple, and it was just rely on the past 20 years of episodes to flesh out the rest of the relationship.
It's not, like, for Homer and Marge, you could kind of get away with that, but...
Homer and Marge you can, but we don't really know that much about Lovejoy and his wife.
No, not at all.
Unless there's an episode we haven't seen that digs deep into the life of Helen Lovejoy.
The joy of love with the Lovejoys.
Let's talk about the Lovejoy stuff a little bit more. There were weird boner jokes with him at the end.
Oh, I don't know.
That just weirded me out because he's a minister.
Yeah, but the
train in your pocket.
Right.
I feel like the in your pocket joke is so done. It's like harmless now. It's PG.
It's PG.
Yeah.
All right. But then he also I thought a little bit out of character and weird. I don't remember what Helen says to him, but he's like, "Oh, Helen, you're bitching up the place," or something like that.
That was
bitch up the
harsh.
conversation.
Way to bitch up the conversation. That was it. Yeah.
It was harsh.
That's a little harsh.
That was way harsh.
But she
for
is
minister after church. She was literally outside of the church.
Yeah.
It surprised me. I didn't mind it so much because it was kind of a funny line, even though it was a little chauvinist. It was just I never heard that before. Bitch up the conversation.
Yeah, right.
I just kind of like that idea.
I never heard penis curling she devils either.
Yeah, that was also a weird one. But that accurately describes Patty and Selma for everything we know about them.
Fair enough.
Again, like it's withering. Like what kind is it, or is it just literally turning to the left? like the
no one saw my visual joke.
Like the socks in Wizard of Oz after the house falls.
Exactly. Goes inside of you.
Yeah.
It's a D-erection. So some weird lines there. Anything else that you about the Lovejoy story that popped out for you or popped in?
Well, it just was a weird choice, I thought, because there isn't a lot going on with Lovejoy, and I think he's best used in that capacity as the monotone sort of, cynical preacher that he's become. So, and they didn't really do a lot to flesh him out, add any other dimensions, like you said. They can use this to explore other dynamics, and they didn't really.
We saw that he's obsessed with his model trains, which we
know,
already know in classic episodes, but I guess that he puts it above his wife. That's something.
So that's a good reason to argue that they should have took him out completely and left it at Homer and Pooh, or take a Pooh out, and at least then maybe we get a little bit better sense of the Lovejoy house.
But if you take Lovejoy out, you're going to lose his priest friend and then his other weird priest friend.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about that because the Steve Carell episode opens up with the Holy Rollers, and you mentioned that it was a different Holy Rollers than the original bowling episode.
Yes.
And we said we couldn't remember who the other character was. It was a rabbi, Krustovsky, Lovejoy, was it Flanders?
It was Flanders, yeah.
And then we couldn't remember the fourth was. And then somebody in the comments, I forget who, and I'm sorry, but they pointed out that it was we'd seen this character before.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a name.
I don't know. It's clearly a parody of Bing Crosby's character from the Boys movies, the Boys Town or I forget what it was, but
Crazy Town.
Crazy. Was the You're My Butterfly, Sugar Baby.
That's
yeah,
right.
That was Bing Crosby all the way.
That's Bing Crosby.
No, yeah. So it's
a butterfly.
Yeah.
Sugar Baby.
I liked it. You don't see Bing Crosby impressions outside of Warner Brothers cartoons anymore. So I liked it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really funny when Louis Armstrong as another reverend came in. I liked it.
Yeah, it was. What was it? It was like saying Mount St. Helen is gonna blow. He like sang a little song about it, and then he's like, you got it.
Yeah, it was so goofy and trailed off into goofiness that I liked it.
I agree. Trailed off into goofy. That's a possible episode title.
So, Dave, you watch, since you do have kept up better than we have, does he appear at all? Does he appear quite often, or the Protestant?
I didn't
recognize him.
No, I didn't recognize him at all.
All right, so he's been 2 episodes, and we watched both of them.
Well, all right. I liked him.
All right.
Yeah.
I like the Eureka commercials where he was dancing with the vacuum too. So I don't know.
Wait, that wasn't Bing Crosby, wasn't it? Fred Astaire?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
No, they're all
Bing Crosby didn't dance.
I don't know.
He just beat women. I don't know if he did. That's rumor and hearsay. I was gonna say, can you slander a dead person? But I'm a lawyer and I should know the answer to that question.
Can you?
I don't think he can.
Can you slander Bing Crosby?
Well, I just did. Wait, he's dead, isn't he? Is he not dead?
Yeah, of course. He died.
He's like long dead, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That asshole.
Our condolences to the Crosby family.
Wait, isn't there all these like rape allegations against Bing Crosby right now?
That's
Sounds about right.
See, because Bill Cosby.
Yeah, no, they sound similar.
Took the R out and changed the NG to 2 L's.
Let's take a break.
Explore a dark, dark weasel cave. Tour the historic Civil War prison and picnic where the bodies were once stacked like cordwood. Plus some kind of amusement park.
Warning, you may not be amused.
So next was a Pooh story or Homer's? A Pooh's.
I think Homer's was first.
Homer's was actually first.
Homer's was
but
first.
Let's talk about Apu.
All right, let's talk about Apu.
We haven't talked about Apu much on the show.
Yeah. First off, Manjula was not done by Jan Hooks, which
Right, that's what I wanted to bring up.
I think they go back. I think she once in a while she doesn't do it, right? They go back and forth between her and I'm assuming Tress MacNeille or Lucy Taylor, which.
Yeah, no, I'm not totally sure who it is, but I thought it was strange because Manjula had such a big part of the episode that they wouldn't get Jan Hooks.
Yeah, she might have been
Obviously
unavailable.
She was still alive then.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
She was.
Yeah, it was strange to me because Manjula was a central character in the show.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really about her because she was the one who was closest to leaving Apu, who has cheated on her in the past.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
A couple things that stuck out to me was how mean they were to each other. There was a lot of harshness in this episode overall, and
theirs is definitely one of the more bitter marriages.
Yeah. And I was also a little put off by the Indian jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of them, and even the worst one being, I wish that dot on your forehead was an off
button. Yeah.
Which just sounds to me like white people making fun of Indian people because they wouldn't call it a dot on your forehead, they'd call it a bindi.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's also like a big spiritual thing. I don't know
Yeah.
if they would denigrate it like that.
I didn't think about that because whenever it's, especially with, I don't know much about the Indian culture or Hinduism, so I can never tell if something's really offensive or if I just don't know because I'm not from there. or from that culture.
Well, Dave and I are both from India. So.
But no, I didn't even think about that. A poo, like the red dot, like the red dot turning off button. I was like, how sacred is that? Like, I don't know if that's offensive or not, but the fact that he would call it the red dot, not the bindi,
Exactly.
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it was different from the episode where Apu pretends to be married to Marge, and Lisa and Bart ask Apu's mother, like, can I talk about your dot? What's the deal with that dot?
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense for them. They're
Right,
precocious
right,
kids in America who have no idea what that is. But this is, an Indian man calling his Indian wife out with...
And I would have been fine if it was one or two jokes, but it felt like all of the humor, air quotes humor, was mined out of them making the sitar joke. I'm playing the world's tiniest sitar, the Darjeeling Limited. Like, it was just like...
Yeah, I actually thought...
Pretty easy.
Well, on the one hand, I thought it was just a bunch of people went to, like, Wikipedia and looked up India and were like, joke about that, joke about that, joke about that. But also, I thought Apu was kind of a douchebag in this episode a little bit, right? Like, Apu's usually not so mean.
I
to
know,
his
he's
wife.
cheated on her. I feel like every episode we get with him and Manjula, he usually is a dick to her, right?
I mean, maybe that's just how Apu has progressed or de-evolved over the years. But I'm thinking back to like season 5, Homer and Apu, who was like a swell guy. He sang a little song and he cried. He was like a real person.
No, it was definitely. I mean, I guess the point was that they had to be bad husbands.
I mean, they have to be bad husbands, but you can be a bad husband and not be like a complete.
Be a perfect gentleman like Homer was in Bonfire of the Manatees.
At least Homer.
Yeah, Homer came off the best in this episode almost.
That's true.
Well,
Homer
when
did
we talk
kind of
about
go
their
off the
anecdote, their party. First of all, it was a birthday party for Marge's mother, who we don't see a lot of.
Yeah, not lately.
Her voice was way off. I'm guessing because Julie Kavner just never gets a chance to do it.
I can't remember.
Yeah, maybe.
But wasn't it way off?
It did sound weird. It sounded more like Patty and Selma than less like...
She only had one line, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like one
which
or
was
two.
funny.
Yeah.
Not many.
I don't remember it.
It was about
I don't remember it either.
Patty and Selma smoked when she was pregnant.
Oh, yeah. I actually thought that was a pretty good line.
Yeah. And then the end of that bit, this is something else I wanted to mention. Marge gets frustrated with Homer that he always ruins her things. And she gets frustrated and goes and just starts breaking celery stalks in half.
Yeah.
Oh,
She just starts snapping them, which I guess kind of works as a frustrated gesture or whatever. But then it's clearly used to match cut the audio to Bart snapping his fingers as we come out of the flashback, asking Homer for money. And that was the thing they used in the episode to transition to the flashbacks, which some of them were clever and worked, but that was really the only one that really stuck out to me and made me notice every other time they did it.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, it kind of makes sense, like Marge, instead of like smashing things, she's going to break celery when she's mad. Like, that's a Marge thing to do.
I mean, we've all...
like it.
I've done angry dishes. You ever do angry dishes where you had a fight and you're just like scrubbing the plate like the soap's just suds are flying everywhere?
I've played the game on my phone
Angry
where you throw
Dishes?
the dishes at the pigs.
It's a hot app.
Angry Dishes is the name of the episode.
Angry Dishes is a very hot app.
Angry Dishes.
They're turning it into a $200 million CGI movie with
Katy Perry does the voice of the dish.
Yeah, Seth Rogen is the cup.
Why are you so angry? that's like Seth Rogen that sounds like Rolf the dog.
I thought it was Mr. Wilson from Dennis the Menace.
You're not my lawn. I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what that was. That was nothing. Guys, if anybody's out there is app designers and you want to make Angry Dishes or an Angry Dishes movie, clearly we've got it all laid out. Just give us a call. Patent pending. All right, so that sums up the anecdotes. So then they all come home from the cruise. Again, I thought everything was just moving so swiftly. I was like, oh, that was it? But again, they only had 20 minutes to do this, which just a lot of story. So now they're driving back home, and all the husbands are wondering which wife left with Moe.
Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about?
I want to interject one thing before we get to that was... the flashback when Moe goes to the church and he's talking to Helen.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're flirting. That scene, Moe says he has feelings for a married woman. And that's not really ever followed up on or resolved.
Good point.
The idea is we don't know which one he's talking about.
Because
but
at
then
the end,
matter.
you think that going along with the story, Moe actually is going to try to leave with one of their wives.
Right.
But then, he pulls the 180 and says he was tricking them into repairing their marriages or whatever.
It's like a red herring that doesn't make sense.
So maybe Moe actually was going to leave with Manjula.
Maybe he thought
and
about
then,
it.
he thought it, second guessed it.
Or Marge, he was watching her undress, or Helen Lovejoy.
He doesn't need to watch her undress. He can just play Playboy.
I feel like it was a red herring. and it could have been true, but the fact that they never go back to
Yeah.
it kind of was
They didn't
lazy.
resolve it,
Yeah.
never mentioned
At the end, Pooh could have
It's a
been like,
minus.
"Oh, but who was that married woman that I saw you talking to Helen Lovejoy
Yeah, they
about?"
could have
And
used
just
it,
been like,
just had a
"Oh, nobody."
Yeah, it sounds like if he wanted to, he could have sex with Luann Van Houten whenever he wants.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's got an open door policy.
Yeah, he could be Uncle Moe from Millhouse.
Yeah. Did you like that joke? So on the bus as they're going back home, they're like, "Okay, we're going to Apu's next," and Kirk Van Houten is like, "Actually, our house is next," and Otto is like, "No, there's no suspense in your house. I've had sex with your wife."
I didn't love it, didn't hate it.
I kind of liked the meta joke of, "Oh, there's no suspense in your house."
Oh,
Like,
that was.
but I didn't really care for like the
You were my favorite uncle.
slut shaming the mom
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
That same scene. What did you think about Otto's hallucinatory? There was like evil
I didn't
cars.
get that at all. I think
It
I
was
missed
just
a line.
weird.
He's
because-
talking about.
Yeah, it was just a bad joke that they said, "Oh, you have to drive us back into town." He's like, "Oh, I have to drive back to town. I've mistimed some substances."
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Otto uses whatever downtime he can to get high.
Yeah.
But it was just a weird little hallucinatory.
Yeah, he sees like
section that-
cars, like the Pixar movie Cars, and they're like
yeah.
attacking each other.
Yeah, it's just kind
It's
of
fine.
pointless.
Yeah.
Didn't we watch an episode that had like a Cars thing like that before?
I think it was might have also we definitely watched something where Otto was hallucinating while driving.
Yeah.
I think
I
don't
didn't
know.
recognize that from Cars. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
It could.
I
I
never
mean,
saw
that's
Cars.
what I assumed. It could
I
have
think
been.
there was like a tow truck that I
any-
think looked like Terminator.
I mean, you put
Yeah.
eyeballs on cars; they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
But
If you're gonna reference a Pixar movie, you reference
Yeah,
Cars.
the best
the
one,
best of all of
obviously.
them.
I guess could have been more interesting if they drew it out more, or if it affected the ride home more. But it was just sort of this interjected.
It's just Otto's in the scene. We got to hit the beat that he's a pothead.
And then the next scene, he's fine. So
Yeah, it didn't really have any bearing on anything.
he only barely mistimed his substances.
That's right.
since we're interjecting stuff, I did forget. I did want to mention. I like the line. When Apu and Manjula are fighting. He says, "I don't know what my grandfather saw in your grandfather."
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that was like a fun,
That was funny.
Arranged
arranged
marriage.
marriage.
Yeah.
joke, yeah.
That was the best of them.
Of the Indian
Of
culture
the, like,
jokes.
we're clearly just making fun of Indian culture right now.
Yeah.
That was my favorite racist joke.
That's a good.
That's not a bad episode title either.
That's gonna be the name of my biography.
With the forward by Ethan Hawke. So overall, this episode, it felt like it didn't land well with me. Like there were a few moments, like beats that just didn't hit. Specifically, the one that made me think of it was when they're sitting down at that picnic table on Weasel Island and they're talking about their wives and they're doing the flashbacks. Homer's like trying to get Lovejoy to tell his story, and Homer's like, "We have 10 minutes until the boat comes back, so why don't you tell your story?" And it was just like this really expository moment that was... And then they had Ralph Wiggum just pop up for no reason.
Yeah.
Which, if Ralph Wiggum was there, why not make it Chief Wiggum?
Yeah, good point.
What's going on with
It
this
would've
show?
been- and Wiggum and Sarah definitely, even though we don't see much of them, we see more of their relationship. They have a kind of cutesy relationship than we do with the Lovejoys. So
Yeah.
it is an interesting.
And Wiggum's not as one note as Lovejoy,
Right.
and we don't really know anything about Sarah.
Yeah,
Right.
that could have been
That could
interesting.
have been more fun.
Oh well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh well. It
What's his
wasn't fun. It was a
what's his
boring
nickname
episode.
for or her nickname
Poppin'
for
Fresh?
Yeah, Poppin' Fresh. Yeah, so, like that right there is more insight to
Yeah.
their marriage than
Exactly.
anything we've gotten
Right.
from
From
Helen
the
and
Lovejoys. Yeah.
So what do we think about the scenes where they make up?
There was one weird moment I thought at the end when Homer goes for home first, I think.
Yeah.
And he's delighted that Marge isn't leaving, and he says, "You're something like you not running away with Moe is the best thing that ever happened to me." And Marge just like smiles and hugs him. I thought Marge should have a reaction like, "Why,
what the hell are you
did you
talking
think I'd
about?"
run away with Moe?"
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know,
Because Manjula
like-
had a reaction like that. Was like, "Oh no, I have
Yeah.
eyes and a nose. I would never do that."
Yeah.
which was kind of mean.
And
Yeah.
that's sort of
The
glazed
guy that's
over
trying to
as,
save
like,
their marriage.
how realistic is it that anybody would run away with Moe?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know, so
it's
there's
Moe. he's hideously ugly.
Yeah.
We've said it a number of times.
Like
Like the whole
Kid
episode
Moe.
where he got plastic surgery.
Should have said he was going to kidnap one of their wives.
Yeah.
That made more
Jesus.
sense.
There was that joke about where Apu left one of the babies at the bar, and he was like, "Hey Apu, I have your kid here. It's not a kidnapping thing, but if you wanted to give me $1 million, I thought that was funny.
And I think
Yeah.
it's good character work because
that's something Moe would do.
Moe would be paranoid because he knows he's such a cretin that he might actually get accused of something like
Exactly.
that. I thought that was a little.
That's the Moe I know,
Yeah.
not the Moe who
Exactly.
goes through these elaborate lengths to bring people's wives back
Why
together.
don't we talk about that then? Moe's motivation. It sounds like it didn't work for you guys.
You mean his motivation?
Motivation, yeah. I see. I thought it was a little weak. Yeah, like again, I thought it was the idea of him being the bartender was great, and I was thinking, I could buy it because he is such a lonely guy, and he might be the loneliest guy in Springfield, even more so than comic book. Well, apparently comic book guy's married now, but Moe, I could see Moe not saying, "Hey guys, you need to appreciate your wives more. You don't realize how good it is when because you're not me, you're not lonely." And I was like, I could buy that, and I was like, they should say that. And then they actually do say it at the end, and when they said it, I was like, it's still not enough for me. I feel like, I don't know if I'm being unfair, but I do kind of buy his motivation. I wish it was a little bit stronger to do something so radical. I'm talking more taking aside the fact that he's a bartender, just Moe as a character. Do you think they gave him enough motivation for the story? I mean, I'm asking a lot here. Most episodes we covered don't have motivation, so I don't know why we should expect any, but...
Yeah, no, I didn't really think Moe had any motivation. I mean, I understand he's friends with Homer. He's sort of friends with Apu. They've been on a bowling team together. Yeah. But Lovejoy, I mean, he has no reason to help
I kind of buy
Lovejoy.
the fact that he's just so unloved that you don't even give him a second thought. The fact that he could actually steal one of your wives, as repulsive as he is, the fact that he's such a non-threat is why he can kind of weave in and out of even like Lovejoy's life. You go, why? Yeah. What does Moe have to do with Lovejoy? That's kind of the point. It's just, he's there. You just don't notice him.
Yeah, I guess. But it still doesn't make sense why he's nice at the end. I don't know if that's keeping with...
Right, yeah, I guess that's where my problem is with the motivation is why he realizes they don't appreciate their wives, but why would he want to bring them back together? Why go out of your way?
Right.
I mean, I guess he is a decent guy in a lot of episodes. He's not always been this pro-rapist creature. At least with Homer and Barney.
I think I just prefer Moe when he's like a little scummy.
Yeah. So, is there a way that they could have done this plot, with a different character, and it would have worked for you guys?
That's a good question.
If it was comic book guy or Skinner, I don't know.
Dr. Hibbert is the first semi-prominent character who comes to mind who is nice. But it doesn't actually work.
No, I mean, Flanders is nice, but he can't steal their wives. Hibbert's not going to steal anybody's wife.
Actually, Flanders could work.
I guess because he's single, but he wouldn't steal somebody's wife. He's Flanders.
Well, if the whole idea is about being kind to your wives, Flanders would drown them
Flanders
in
would do that.
Oh, and maybe lie and con them
into thinking. More, yeah.
But also, what you just said about Moe works the same for Flanders. You wouldn't expect that Flanders would do it, so it kind of makes sense. Like, you would ignore Flanders as a potential,
And Flanders seems
suitor.
like he would be someone that would want to teach you a lesson.
Yeah, the twist being that he was never going to steal any of the wives. He was actually just doing to scare them. You could buy that.
And then on top of that, obviously his wife has passed on. That could be like a bittersweet way. Like he wanted to celebrate Mother's Day by bringing three families closer together because he couldn't do anything on his own.
Wow, we just came up with a much better episode there.
Also, Flanders Better Blues, much better title.
Much better title.
So replace Moe with Flanders and Lovejoy with Wiggum, and we might have something.
We got something.
I like the way
with gas.
I like the way we work it. But can we possibly, with all the dialogue and animation The Simpsons has done over 25 years, recut this episode and make that happen? Like,
let's get on that.
What are you guys doing? What
are you guys doing, please? We're too lazy.
Why don't we start talking about ranking this episode?
Let's do it.
So we've got a pretty big announcement for you guys.
Revolutionary.
Jack and I are getting married.
We are.
We are in love.
Finally.
It's going to be just like Romeo Old and Juliet. I'm going to be working in the DMV while Dad wanders around the kitchen.
Becomes senile.
We might have to do that if ratings dip. If iTunes ratings go down.
Yeah.
No, please don't give us bad iTunes ratings to see us get married.
It ain't gonna happen.
Dave got back to Dave messaged us a while back with an idea that maybe we should think about a more scientific way of ranking the episodes, a more numeric, come up with a mathematical.
So we've been in the lab trying to figure something out.
Mixing we have some scienticians.
Yep.
And then actually, I forget the name. I'm sorry, but another person actually messaged us about a week ago, suggesting the very same thing. So it's clearly on some people's minds. We know that when we do talk about the ranking, sometimes we take a little long and we dither back and forth.
Yeah.
We kind of like doing that.
I
We
like dithering.
because we change each other's minds and we like hashing it out. But it's gonna get a lot harder as it's already getting kind of tough with 16 episodes.
Yeah, we need to do something to kind of make it a little more exact.
Yeah, and more uniform.
Consistent.
And who knows, we might change it next week or week after. We might, it might, as it grows, we might change it. But we've got we worked on this for a while, and we have a pretty solid system we're happy with. And we're gonna start with this episode. And originally we were gonna just do it for this episode as an experiment because you were gonna be on, Dave, and we're gonna try Dave's system. Just to see how it works, and then maybe put it off on the side, or maybe incorporate a few things. But as we were coming up with it, I think we're kind of on the page that this might just be our new thing.
Yeah, like we're just going to do this going forward,
Just rank,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
so.
for at least for the time being, unless we come up with something better, which I don't know, I think it's a pretty solid system. So
Well, let's hear it. What is this system,
So,
Jack? As if I don't know.
yeah, well, we're still working on an acronym. So I guess if you guys
We're working with Hivo right now.
either Ivo, I like the Dave system.
The Dave system could
I
work.
think Dave likes
Okay.
the Dave system.
I think Dave likes the Dave system.
Hivo sounds cool, but if you see it in writing, it looks like an AIDS reference.
Yeah, right.
So, I
Do you
don't know.
remember? This is unrelated to The Simpsons, but
Or AIDS.
B movie. You ever see B movie?
Yeah, Seinfeld's movie.
It's like the only. I didn't really care for that movie, but the only good line in that movie, because it's so weird, is when Renee Zellweger's character says something about TiVo, and Jerry Seinfeld's B character is like, "We don't have TiVo, we have Hivo, but it's a disease. It's a terrible, terrible disease." So that was such a weird joke. So that's the only thing about B movie that is
It's funny too because you think you would just say Bevo, but
Yeah, right.
no,
Well,
I like
that
B
doesn't
movie.
have the HIV allegation or allegory to it.
Just in case, I just don't want people to think Dan's speaking for the entire podcast here. I liked B movie. I didn't. It's not one of my favorites, but I liked it.
I've seen it
I
once.
liked B movie.
I saw it
Dave
once.
likes
I
B
don't
movie.
remember it that well.
I didn't
but
say. Did I say I
remember
hate
enjoying
B
it.
movie?
You said there was one line in it that you liked, and that was it.
Well, because it's the only line I remember. All right, fine. We're gonna rewatch B movie. We're gonna come back with our thoughts. Stay tuned. Worst
on
B movie
B
ever.
episode ever. B.
burst episode ever. I don't know what I'm doing. Please cut all of this.
Nope. All right, so basically we're going to be doing a 1 to 5, rating 1 to 5 with half points involved. And we're kind of cribbing a little bit from Netflix where what does 1 mean?
1 is gonna be we hated it. 5 is loved it.
Yeah, and then
In between, like I really liked it, did not like.
Yeah, and we're
don't
giving
have Netflix,
ourselves
you know.
we're giving ourselves half points as well, half stars if you will,
Right,
just
unlike
to give
Netflix.
ourselves a little wiggle room. We previously ranked, because if we just ranked one episode and gave it a score, it would kind of not make any sense.
Yeah.
So we've actually gone back and we've ranked all the episodes we've
All
done
17
already,
that we've done already.
and we gave them scores. Well, at least from what I noticed, is not a lot of 4s and 5s. I think we're
No.
yeah.
No, there are not.
And there's no 0. A few episodes we gave some 1s.
Yeah.
But we're not just giving it one ranking. We actually broke it down into 4 categories.
Yeah, 4 categories we're doing.
So real quick, the categories are.
We're doing the humor of the episode.
Was that like the medieval humors? Like the
Yes, the miasmas of the episode. Look it up. The humor, just like, did we think this episode was funny? Did the jokes really land?
Right.
Or did we have to talk for 45 minutes about joke writing 101?
Right, exactly.
So that's our first factor. The integrity of the episode,
Right.
which we were saying would be kind of are the characters true to form.
Right,
Like
so
Bonfire of the Manatees
Homer
was
was
an episode
not
that's very
Homer,
low
yeah.
in integrity because Homer's
Right.
not Homer. The whole episode is weird. They're filming porno movies in the house.
Yeah,
It's not.
And this is new to us, so we'll be fine tuning
we're-
it here
we're
and there. But
fudging
it's all, I'd say maybe tone and mood of the episode, just
Right.
the kind of Simpsons feel. When we say something broke the Simpsons, like the Jockey Elves, that would be
Right,
an
that would be
integrity
bad
score.
Integrity.
That would be not a 5.
Yeah, no. We're looking at the visual aspects of the episode. So
Okay.
we comment a lot. We like something in the direction, or we like the animation. So we'll kind of
Like
rank
Principal
that
and the
as well.
Pauper, we like the Vietnam scenes. We like the bug scene last week in the space episode.
Right.
So that's something that would give it points.
Yeah, and then originality is the last one. So HIVO is why
Yeah.
I said HIVO. Originality, was this just have we seen something like this before, or is it something new that they did something different with?
Yeah, I mean, it's rare to see The Simpsons do a plot that hasn't been done yet, and a lot of people make that comment. So,
well, this episode, I thought,
exactly.
I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little
yeah.
bit. This was a pretty original episode.
Also, at least when I was going back and ranking the other episodes we've done, a small factor I considered is even if an episode has been done before, are they just doing it from a new point of view, new light? Like Bonfire of the Manatees got a low score because they've done Homer and Marge's marriage troubles a lot. But I didn't give it a really low score. I gave it a little extra leeway because the idea of Marge finding a new passion, the manatees, as a channel, like channeling her love.
Right, that's kind of
it's a little bit newer. I mean, she's been a cop, she's been a bodybuilder.
Right.
So I didn't give it a great score, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
no, it's our worst episode for a reason.
And we'll talk about this now, I guess. So the rankings haven't changed.
No. The rankings are
Almost every episode when we gave it a score pretty much stayed the same that we left it. We may have pushed two episodes, like a 0.5 or 2, just to keep everything consistent. But it was really surprising when we gave the numbers. They pretty much were in line with our gut. So this is, if anything, this is just more of a time-saving issue. And when we rank 300 episodes, we won't have to remember what we liked about it. We just have to remember that we thought it was a 3.5 or a 4.
Our numbers. Yeah. Okay.
So this is going to change the format of the show a little bit every week too. Is we're going to have to stop for a couple of minutes now, because we're not going to rank the episodes until after we've talked, because we do change each other's minds over the course of the episode.
Yeah.
Bonfire of the Manatees, we didn't like it, but we didn't realize how much we hated it until we started talking
really
to one another.
about it.
So we're going to stop the episode and we're going to rank it, and then we're going to come back real quick. We don't really need to explain this to you guys. We'll be back in literally a few seconds. But don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Don't be like the dog waiting at the door. Never mind.
Let's just rank the episode.
All right, so we'll be right back.
Hey, Pooh. I just want you to know that I got one of your kids here. This ain't a kidnapping thing, but if you're in the mood to give me $1 million, yeah, that's cool. This should not be interpreted by federal agents as a threat. Once again, no threat, but we'll take the dough.
All right, so we just came back. We spent 5 minutes ranking it. It wasn't fun.
It's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, it's a little tricky right now because the only other episodes we're comparing to, we've retroactively graded. I don't know. I kind of liked it. You're a little frustrated because after we did the math, the episode seemed too high up on the list than you would have liked.
Yeah, I just like going the old way of kind of saying, oh, it's better than this episode, but not as good as this episode. Right. Like I needed to change my numbers around to kind of make it fit where I wanted it to fit.
Guessing when we have 100 episodes in the bank, we're going to appreciate this more.
Right.
So let's talk about where we have it ranked. So right now it is ranked.
It's ranked as worse than Bart Mangled Banner, but better than Kill Gill.
See, now here's why I'm a little less frustrated than you, because if we were ranking the old way, the 7 days ago way, the non-Dave way, this actually that's exactly where I would have put it.
I would have put it lower. I don't know.
Because I think Bart Mangled Banner is here's another interesting thing. So with this ranking, because it's out of 5, 2.5 is then average, and the only 4 episodes where I would even say that I actually sat down and enjoyed were the 4 episodes on this list that are over 2.5. Bart Mangled Banner, Roosevelt's, Pokemon, and Principal and the Pauper, which is technically an honorary mention.
Right.
But those are the only 4 episodes out of everyone we've done where I still don't think they're anywhere near the classic years, but they're the only one I was like, you know what, better, for all its faults, it was a decent episode.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Kill Gill, I remember being...
Well, it did win. Al Jean reminded us on Twitter that it did win the Writers Guild Award.
The Emmy Award, yeah.
Or whatever.
I mean, I guess it would be in this area, because I would probably put it... This episode was just really bland.
All right, so let's talk about the exact ranking we gave it.
Sure.
So, Dave, you ranked this one since it is your system, more or less. So, what did you give it for humor?
I gave it a 1.5. I did not. I think I might have chuckled at a couple of lines, but mostly it was a humorless episode for me.
I also gave it a 1.5. I liked the Carney. I liked some of the lines, but overall, not a very laugh out loud episode.
All right, I gave it a 2.5. I originally was going to give it a 2. Although now that I think about it, you guys are right. It wasn't that much. It would have been a 1.5. And then I gave it an extra half point because I really liked the Itchy and Scratchy and I liked the Bing Crosby. And you guys said, well, if you only like 2 scenes, and even if you really loved them, it's not enough. So, you know what?
Even Itchy and Scratchy wasn't funny. It was just, you liked it because it was
different. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so I'll drop this 2.5 to a 2 if this makes you feel any better.
Makes me feel better.
I will sleep better tonight.
Okay. So what do you guys put for the integrity of the episode, the character integrity?
I just went in the middle, 2.5, because this wasn't an egregiously terrible episode as far as breaking the show. I think Moe was not really as Moe-like as he
I
has
gave it
been.
a 2 because I thought it was a little missing.
Again, I
Moe.
gave it more. I gave it a 3. I gave it a 2.5 because I gave it a 3.5 or 3 because I felt that they did a good job with Homer and Apu, and even Lovejoy, as for little as we know. None of them seemed out of character. All their marriage problems seemed completely legit. And then I took it away a little bit just because Moe's motivations were a little weak for me. Not completely weak. Again, I thought it made sense for him, although now, Flanders actually would have been a way cooler pick.
Yeah.
But I didn't penalize it that much. So I gave it a 3. I guess I could have given it a 2.5. 2.5 is average, I think, compared to the episodes we've seen. This episode did a better job of sticking to the characters. That's why I gave it a 3.
All right.
I could I could maybe bring it down to a 2.5.
I don't feel that strongly about it. I mean, we're both pretty much in the same spot. 2.5.
So visually, how do you guys think visually?
Well, I like the visuals in this episode. Like I said before, the whole 3D going down the street thing, I thought that was interesting. I liked the look of Weasel Island.
Yeah. So what did you give it?
I gave it a 3. I mean, it could have been better if the Krusty Cruise, like we were talking about, that could have been an exciting kind of thing to see, but
what do you give it?
there.
I gave it a 3 as well. I thought it was the strongest aspect of the episode.
Well, I'm regret. I gave it a 2.5. I feel like I should have given it a 3.
Basically, all your rankings are wrong, Jack.
I gave it because it really nothing stood out for me except for the itchy and scratchy and
the itchy and scratchy thing
and
I liked too.
The 3D. So maybe I was too hard on it. All right, so that kind of balances it out. It's too easy in one category, too hard in the other.
There you go.
So I'll just leave it alone.
Done.
And then finally, originality. What do you guys give it?
I gave it a 3. I mean, I thought, this is based on an old film, but I didn't know that until afterwards, and I thought this was an interesting concept. It was structurally doing something a little bit different.
Yeah. I also gave it a 3.
Done.
Yeah.
What'd you give it? I gave it a 1.
7.
I gave it a 3. I
good.
would have given it a 4 because I did really think that it was a new creative way for the structure and for the show, and it was refreshing. So I was very up on it. So I gave it a 4, and then I took it down because it is parroting another film. So it was a good idea. It just wasn't their idea.
Yeah,
so
right.
So I gave it a 3.
I didn't like the voiceover. That was something that took away from.
Okay.
Yeah. The voiceover's not our favorite.
So that left us with an average of.
The average is 2.5625, which actually ties it with Kill Gill.
All right, and
So-
I thought it was slightly better than average, so that makes sense.
And now you want to keep it above Kill Gill on our ranking, right?
So now off the books here, no math. Gut wise, I think I liked it better than Kill Gill.
I think I like
you
Kill
know
Gill
what,
a little bit
maybe-
better, but I'm willing to concede it to you.
I'm also willing to concede it to you, so that doesn't help.
I mean, it was Homer vs. Dignity is definitely a worse episode, so it's not that far.
Emotionally, the Christmas one was a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
And see, this is why we got to do the number system, because now we're just going to go on for 20 minutes.
Well.
Oh, so all right, so we have a tie. Now this is interesting because we were talking about what if we got a tie. We're like, we'll never get a tie because almost none of our episodes, the 17 we did ahead of time, tied. But here we are with a tie.
Well, we'll definitely get ties.
Yeah, so
we're doing hundreds of episodes.
Yeah, so we agreed ahead of time that if we do ever get a tie, we'll just go with our gut, which we just did, and your gut is to go one up, and mine's to go one down. You know what? I think we can put this.
Let's put it above Kill Gill. We'll say it's better. I'm fine with that.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm fine with that because Kill Gill, as much as I didn't love Kill Gill, I didn't love this episode. They're both kind of just forgettable, so I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like this story. I liked everything about this better on paper, but I think it is more forgettable than Kill Gill. Kill Gill, because it was a Christmas episode, kind of stood out a little bit better.
That was the overall thing. To me, this episode is offensive in its mediocrity.
Exactly, yeah. And it kind of makes sense to put it with Kill Gill then, because they're both holiday episodes that kind of played with structure a little bit.
Yeah, and Kill Gill was just as mediocre, but it was a Gill episode, which by that nature makes it stand out a little bit more than a Homer Marge marriage episode.
Right.
You know what? I'll put Gill above it.
All right.
You want to do that?
Let's do it. Gill goes up.
So
the system works.
The system works for now. It's going to be a little tricky. Like we said, we might fine tune it here and there. But hopefully this is a better way. We'd love if you guys told us in the comments what you think. If you think the old way is better, I don't think we'll be able to stick with the old way for long because of the amount of episodes. But maybe no offense, Dave, there might be a better system out there than the Dave system. But I think it's so far so good. I think it's pretty solid. And thanks for giving us the suggestion.
Sure.
Yeah. And thanks to our other listener who
Thanks
had
for having
a
me
similar idea.
That was just me from a different email address.
I'm looking up. All right, that is it for this episode. But if you have an episode you would like to suggest for Worst Episode Ever, you can do that at worstepisodepod@gmail.com. That's our email. You can tweet at us at Twitter. We're at worstepisodepod. And you can go to our website, which is weepodcast.com. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/weepodcast, WEE podcast.
And leave us some comments. Tell us, A, what you think about this ranking system.
Definitely.
And then B, we like talking to you guys about the episode in general. Last week we did The Man Who Came to Be Dinner, which almost all of you requested.
Yeah.
And somebody got us into a drawed us into a conversation about the show where both me and Dan commented, and it actually became a fun little comment thread. If you guys want to check it out, it's on our website.
Check out that website.
But yeah, continue the conversation. It doesn't have to stop here. We could go on for hours. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we would love to continue the conversation either on the website, in Facebook, whatever's easy for you guys. Preferably public, rather than an email, because we want to get everybody involved.
Exactly.
But,
and while you're on the website, maybe you could click through our Amazon links and do a little purchasing through Amazon. It really helps us keep the show free, which we'd want to do.
Yeah, we're in February. It's pickle season.
We're in pickle times.
So buy some pickles.
Buy some classic pickles.
Through Amazon, through We.
Buy some DVDs of Empty Nest if they're available.
Some old Betamax of Empty Nest.
So you can do that at the website. Please check it out, wepodcastagain.com. And also, if you haven't left us a review on iTunes, please do that. It helps us get new listeners, helps keep us in the iTunes charts, which we appreciate. Kind of helps the show grow, which we really want to happen. Stitcher too.
I'm going to say, if we get 1,000 good reviews, 1,000 5-star reviews on iTunes, we will get married. Me and Dan will marry each other. Dan will divorce his wife and marry me in a state that allows it. If we get 1,000 5-star reviews, this check may not be honored.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens when we get to 1,000, but sure, I'll do it. That's it for this episode. If you are in the Brooklyn area and you want to come to Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia, that is something that I host with a friend of the show, Dan Ozzie, and Dave is a big part of that night as well.
I'll be there.
He'll be there. That is at Berry Park in Brooklyn. That's the first Thursday of every month. I think it's March 5th this coming month. I'm not sure. But actually, this is going to be a big special one for our Brooklyn Trivia. We're doing Diorama Rama.
Ooh,
so come check that out.
Bring in some shoe boxes of your favorite Simpsons scenes.
Absolutely. And also, if you live in Chicago or Toronto or Vancouver or Calgary, I think there's a bunch of... they also have their own Simpsons Trivia nights. Just Google Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia. You can find more information about that. Next week, we will be back with another episode. We're going to be watching Season 16's Moo Goo Gai Pan. Ooh. No, Goo Goo Gai Pan, I think.
Moo Goo Gai Pan is a food.
Goo Goo Gai Pan is the actual term. It's Goo Goo Gai Pan. The Simpsons go to China.
Ooh, okay.
So that should be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But it won't be. So we want to thank Dave. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for the system. Thanks for the Dave system.
Hey.
The Hyvo.
My pleasure. Or the Dave system.
Thanks for giving us the Hive.
We'll stick with the Dave system so it's not confusing.
Yeah.
I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cut all this.
Cut all this.
Looks like that Chicano is about to blow. Krakatoa, east of Java, never spewed a hotter lava than a Mount St. Helen who's mad at you.
Kilauea, or you will pay her. Zabazee, zabazaz, zabazoo.